If you are a beginner motorcycle rider, or maybe even not a rider yet and just thinking about getting a bike, today is your lucky day. This video is your best starting point on YouTube. It'll give you an idea of what you are getting yourself into and show you the basics of how to ride a motorcycle. Unlike other videos that usually just demo the controls, explain shifting and send you off, it will also share vital skills you need to develop to become a confident and capable rider. You can think of this video as a roadmap, an overview of the most important skills you'll need. Of course, I can't teach you everything in one short video. That's what the rest of this channel is for. But this will give you a solid orientation to what the riding process is all about. If you want to dive deeper into any specific topic, I've got lots of detailed videos you can explore. And if you really want a structured step-by-step approach to your motorcycle training, our courses might be just what you need. In case you are new to this channel, my name is Andrei Bodrov. I am funny-talking motorcycle instructor who creates online courses for riders looking to improve their skills and handle a bike with greater confidence. Our King of the Road course, for example, features over 40 exercises designed to make you a safer, more confident rider in just 9 weeks. Click the link below to check it out and get notified when the next season opens. Alright, with introductions out of the way, let's tackle the real question. How do I learn to ride a motorcycle? By the end of this video, you'll have a firm grasp on the basics, plus a few essential tips most beginner guides very rarely mention. Sound good? Let's get started. Let's start with controls. All those levers and buttons, what they do? Under your right hand, you'll find the throttle. Opening it increases the flow of fuel and air into the engine, raising RPM and providing more power. In other words, when you twist the throttle, the bike goes brrrr and speeds up. Closing the throttle slows the bike down, which is called engine braking. Especially early on, smooth throttle control is very important. Jogging it can lead to a loss of control. Ever seen a video like this? Or this?
Whoa! Whoa!
This is a direct consequence of a rider not being smooth with the throttle. The smoother and more precise we are with the throttle, the smoother and more controllable the bike will be. Right beside the throttle is the front brake lever, which applies braking force to the front wheel. The harder you squeeze, the stronger the braking. As with the throttle, use it smoothly. Snatching the brake lever can cause abrupt weight transfer or even a crash, like this. Or even this. So don't do it. Just like with the throttle, try to be very smooth. Under your left hand you'll see a lever similar to the front brake. This is the clutch. It's primarily for taking off smoothly, shifting gears and controlling the bike at low speeds. When the clutch lever is fully released, all engine power goes to the rear wheel. When it's fully pulled in, no power reaches the wheel. The bike won't move even if you twist the throttle. As you start gradually releasing the clutch, you'll reach the so-called biting point, where the bike just starts to roll forward. From that point until the clutch is fully released is the friction zone of the clutch, which offers the fine control for smooth starts and slow speed maneuvers. We'll go over how to use it in more detail later, but for now just keep in mind that the clutch isn't simply an on and off switch. It has some nuance to it, which we'll use to our advantage soon. Moving on to the dashboard. Most bikes have a speedometer and a tachometer or rev meter, plus indicator lights, like a green N for neutral, a blue light for high beam, and yellow or red warning lights for things like check engine, low oil pressure, overheating or low fuel. Beneath your left hand there is typically a turn signal switch, which you can press left or right to activate. Then press forward to cancel. A horn button and a high-low beam switch. Modern bikes usually have the headlight on by default, while older models might allow turning it off completely. On the right-hand side you'll see the kill switch, which cuts engine ignition, and the starter button. To start the bike, put it in neutral and/or pull in the clutch. Turn the key to on, ensure the kill switch is set to run, and then press the starter button. Now let's look at the foot controls. In front of your right foot is the rear brake lever, which slows the rear wheel when pressed. Don't hover your foot over it after braking. Once you are done slowing down, return your foot to the foot peg to avoid dragging the brake, which can cause overheating or premature wear, like in this example here. On the left side, you'll find the gear shifter. Motorcycles use a sequential gearbox, meaning you must shift gears one by one. Lift up fully to upshift and press down fully to downshift. To find first gear, you have to keep pushing the shifter down until it reaches first gear. When you need to go to the second, you just lift the shifter all the way up. Neutral is tucked between first and second. That means a half lift from first or a half press from second will find neutral. In neutral, the engine is disconnected from the rear wheel, so twisting the throttle won't move the bike, similar to fully pulling in the clutch. Before we hop on the bike and start using all the controls, there is one small but very important step to take care of: the pre-ride check. This quick assessment of the bike's overall condition helps you decide if it's safe to ride. Even if you're an incredibly skilled rider, you won't be able to do much during some high-speed catastrophic failure, like blown tire or a snapped chain. Your motorcycle manual has detailed procedures and regular checks, though realistically most people don't go through the entire list before every single ride. Still, there are a few critical things you should never skip, and they only take about a minute. First, check your tire pressure. Ideally, use a small pressure gauge or a portable pump. But if those aren't available, just press down on the tire with your thumbs. It should barely flex under full pressure. While doing this, glance at the tire tread for any cracks or excessive wear, and make sure it isn't worn past this small bump here, called the tire wear indicator. Next, inspect your chain. It should be well lubricated and have the correct slug, which you'll find in your manual. Just be sure it isn't extremely loose. A loose chain can delay power transfer, cause jerky acceleration, jump teeth, derail or snap altogether. Here is how a snapping chain looks like. It can easily lead to a very nasty crash. Before starting the engine, take a quick look at the oil inspection window to ensure there is enough oil. Oil starvation will kill your engine quickly and result in very expensive repairs. Finally, check your controls. Your brakes, clutch and throttle should operate smoothly without any sticking. Squeezing the front brake and rocking the bike back and forth at least confirms that the brakes and suspension are working to some degree. All in all, the most basic pre-ride routine looks somewhat like this. Check your oil level, start the bike. As it warms up, check your tires. Chain. And control. Then apply the brake and rock the bike. Even this simple version goes a long way towards preventing nasty surprises on the road. It is infinitely better than not checking your bike's condition at all. Great! Now, with all that stuff out of the way, time to ride! Mount the bike, raise the stand, turn the ignition on, make sure your bike is in neutral, and check that the kill switch is into run position. Pull in the clutch and press the starter button. If the bike's cold, let it idle a minute or two before rolling off. Now we're going to learn how to take off smoothly. First, we have to find the biting point of the clutch. Pull in the clutch and put the bike in first gear by pressing the shifter down. Now start releasing the clutch very slowly. Keep looking far ahead, don't look down at the clutch. At some point, you'll feel the bike begin to creep forward. That's the biting point of the clutch. Try to really feel and memorize this point, as you'll be using it often. Once you are comfortable finding the biting point, try to slowly release the clutch even further. No throttle or brakes for now. Keep your eyes up, try to not look down at the clutch. Notice how the bike picks up some little speed. When it does, place both feet on the foot pegs and try to relax your arms. If you manage to do this, you'll notice that the bike goes forward with little to no effort on your side. You don't have to constantly steer it, it is quite stable on its own. To stop the bike, pull in the clutch back past its biting point, so you are no longer being pulled forward. By pulling in the clutch, you can cut power at any time. By now, you may have noticed a little problem. If you release the clutch a little too quickly, the engine stalls. And if you release the clutch very slowly, it takes ages to accelerate to speed. It means it's time to start using the throttle. Before releasing the clutch, give the engine just a little bit of throttle. This provides enough power for a quicker, smoother takeoffs without stalling. Be mindful of how you grip the throttle. Grabbing it with your wrist too high can lead to a whiskey throttle situation, when your body is thrown back, which in turn opens the throttle even more. Here is how it usually looks like. Instead, keep your wrist nearly flat, so if the bike accidentally jolts forward, the throttle will naturally close. Resting one or two fingers on the brake lever can also help with throttle precision, though in this case you have to be mindful to not snatch the brake accidentally. Now, to take off confidently and smoothly, be in first gear, open the throttle a small amount, somewhere about double idle RPM, then ease out the clutch from the biting point. The bike will move forward more quickly now. If it ever feels like you are losing control and bike is getting away from you, just pull in the clutch to cut the power. Repeat this exercise a few times. Don't hurry. Focus on looking ahead, not at your clutch or down at the bike. And once you are moving, remember to put your feet on the foot pegs. From this point on, try to keep your feet on the foot pegs whenever the bike is rolling forward, even at slow speeds. At this point, you've probably noticed that the faster your bike goes, the more stable it feels. When you are just starting to move or coming to a complete stop, it can feel a bit wobbly. However, as you pick up some speed, the bike becomes much more stable. We'll use this natural effect to our advantage and learn how to achieve perfect balance on any motorcycle. Here is a simple exercise to try. Look far ahead, give the bike a little throttle and start releasing the clutch past the biting point, but don't release it all the way. As soon as you gain a little speed and feel the bike stabilize, slowly pull in the clutch back past its biting point, cutting off power to the rear wheel. Even with the throttle open, the bike will begin to slow down. As the bike slows and starts to feel unstable again, resist the urge to put your feet down. Instead, release the clutch slightly to regain speed and stabilize the bike. By repeating this process, you will start developing the habit of balancing your bike using the friction zone. This technique you'll use throughout your entire riding career. Whether you are taking off a traffic light, navigating a parking lot, crawling through a standstill traffic or making a U-turn, this clutch technique will keep the bike steady and under control at low speeds. This method, where you keep the throttle slightly open and use the clutch to stabilize the bike, is known as the friction zone technique. Once you master it, tipping over at slow speeds will become nearly impossible. If the bike starts to feel unstable, on the verge of tipping over, all you need to do is to release the clutch slightly to regain stability. With practice, you'll find that the bike's weight or center of gravity doesn't matter. You'll be able to balance any motorcycle with ease. No more embarrassing tip-overs or awkward situations. If you want to truly master these skills, in the video description I've included some videos that focus specifically on balance, the friction zone and exercises to improve them. Better yet, consider checking out our courses, where we provide detailed explanations and structured exercises to help you become one with your bike. If at some point you decide to take one of our courses, Maybe watch and learn from videos here on YouTube, or maybe even attend a riding school in your area, you'll likely notice a strong emphasis on slow speed control in any type of advanced rider training. Exercises like figure eights, slaloms and circles are usually staples of these programs. But why focus so much on slow speed maneuvers, when most of the time motorcycles are ridden much faster? There are several important reasons for this. First, mastering slow speed exercises significantly reduces the chance of accidentally tipping over your bike. While these minor tip-overs are usually not dangerous at all, they can lead to costly repairs and are quite common among new riders. Investing time in slow speed practice is a nice way to prevent such mishaps. Second, slow speed exercises help you to develop essential muscle memory that directly translates to higher speed riding. By practicing proper body position, balance, smooth throttle and brake control, quick steering and lean angles in safe, low-speed environment, you'll be better prepared to apply these skills confidently and effectively at higher speeds. It can't be stressed enough how valuable slow-speed training is. Spending time on these exercises will not only help you become more familiar with your bike, but also ensure you're prepared for challenging situations. The skills you develop here are foundational and will 100% prove their worth when you need them most. Which skills are we talking about? First and foremost, smooth throttle control. As we briefly touched on earlier, how you manage the throttle has a significant impact on your bike's behavior. On smaller bikes, with 150–250cc engines, you might get away with twitchy throttle action, but as you move to bigger bikes, poor throttle control can quickly result in a nasty crash. That's why it's worth putting in the effort to consciously practice smooth throttle control from the very beginning. Here's a simple, yet very effective exercise to improve your throttle control. Start by riding in a straight line in first gear and slowly roll on the throttle. Your goal is to roll it on so gently that the acceleration feels almost imperceptible. Once you reach a certain speed, gradually roll off the throttle. Don't chop it or release it suddenly. Roll it off smoothly and in a controlled way. During this exercise, remember to look far ahead and keep your arms relaxed and loose. Tension in your arms can transfer to the handlebars, affecting your control. So, stay relaxed. Practice consistently until you can roll the throttle on and off without any jerks or abrupt movements. If you can ride the bike smoothly in the first gear, where the throttle input is most sensitive, you'll find it much easier to maintain control in higher gears. And speaking of gears, it is time to learn how to shift. The purpose of a gearbox on a motorcycle is to keep the engine operating within its power band, the range of RPM where it performs at its best. The key is to avoid letting the RPM go too high or drop too low. Because of this, before shifting from first to second gear, you need to gain enough speed. Shifting too early will drop the RPM too low and might even cause the engine to stall. On smaller bikes, you typically need to accelerate to 10, maybe 15 miles per hour before shifting to second gear. On larger bikes, you might need to reach 20–25 miles per hour or sometimes even 30 miles per hour depending on the particular bike. Once you've accelerated to some speed, follow these steps. Close the throttle completely, pull in the clutch, place your left foot under the shifter and lift it all the way up, which will put you in second gear. Release the clutch smoothly and roll back on the throttle if you want to accelerate further. With practice, all these steps will become fluid and nearly simultaneous. Roll off the throttle, pull in the clutch, upshift, release the clutch and roll on the throttle. The entire process should take less than a second, once you get the hang of it. If you are finding it tricky at first, you can practice this sequence on a stationary bike with the engine off. Repeat until the movements feel smooth and natural. Downshifting follows a similar process. Roll off the throttle, pull in the clutch, push the shifter all the way down, release the clutch slowly to avoid abrupt engine braking. Roll back on the throttle if needed. The key difference with downshifting is that you need to be more careful when releasing the clutch. as doing so too quickly can cause a jolt due to a sudden engine braking. This basic shifting sequence works for most riders. If you'd like to learn advanced shifting techniques to shift faster and smoother, check out our dedicated video on shifting. As usual, you'll find the link in the description. Now, before we move on to the next topic, I want to take a moment to talk about today's sponsor, Ultramax Cell, the brand behind the high-tech base layers you've probably seen me wearing in my videos. These aren't just great because they sponsor me. It's my genuine opinion that they're one of the best options for motorcycle riders. What sets Ultramax Cell apart is the material. A cutting-edge polypropylene fiber with a unique three-dimensional structure. This design creates a compression effect, ensuring the fabric fits snugly and performs efficiently across your entire body. The real magic is in the 3D honeycomb structure, which increases the surface area of the material. This allows it to wick moisture away from your skin and evaporate it rapidly. In hot weather, when worn under ventilated riding gear, this feature enhances evaporative cooling, keeping you cool and comfortable. In cold conditions, the honeycomb design traps more air around your body, providing additional insulation and keeping you warm. Compared to standard thermal clothing, Ultramax Cell is a significant upgrade. I can highly recommend it. I'll include an Amazon link in the video description, as well as their direct contact information. Depending on your location, you might find a better deal by contacting them directly. Now, back to our video. Now that you've learned how to take off and accelerate your bike, it is time to learn how to stop it effectively. Let's talk about braking. The ability to stop your bike quickly without dropping it or flipping over the handlebars can and will save your life multiple times throughout your riding career. That's why it is worth investing the time to master fast controlled braking. I highly recommend watching my dedicated video on braking, where I break it all down in great detail. For now, let's have the short version. To understand braking, we first need to understand traction. A motorcycle's stopping power depends heavily on the grip of your tires, which increases with tire load. The more weight is being put on the tire, the more braking force it can handle. When you brake, weight transfers from the rear wheel to the front. Under light braking, this transfer is not huge, but during hard braking, like in emergency, up to 95 or even 100% of the bike's weight can shift to the front wheel. Keep in mind, this weight transfer isn't instantaneous, it takes a moment to happen. From this, we can derive two critical rules. First, you must use the front brake for effective stopping power. You may use it along with the rear one if you wish so, but it's physically impossible to stop quickly using just the rear brake. And second, you must brake progressively. Grabbing the front brake all at once can lock up the front wheel, causing the bike to skid and potentially crash. Instead, gradually apply the brake to allow the weight to shift forward and increase traction on the front wheel. The speed at which you apply the front brake depends on factors like road conditions, tire quality and your bike's setup. On clean dry pavement with good tires, you can brake harder and faster. On wet or slippery roads, take a gentler approach. One effective and straightforward method to build the necessary muscle memory with your front brake is to do a braking exercise. First, try to stop from about 20 miles per hour. For now, just try to focus on smooth, progressive braking rather than trying to stop in the minimum distance. Keep your knees pressed against the tank, straighten your back and try to keep your arms relaxed as much as you can, so the front wheel can self-stabilize even when you're braking. Look far ahead, not down at the pavement. Roll off the throttle and begin squeezing the front brake gradually, applying more and more force. Each attempt, try to squeeze the brake a little bit quicker and harder. Increase the pressure little by little, don't try to brake as fast as you can right away, unless of course you have ABS on your bike. Be ready to immediately release the front brake if your rear wheel starts to lift up or you feel the front wheel locks up. Once you're comfortable braking at 20 miles per hour, try the same exercise at 30 miles per hour, then 40 or even higher if you have enough space. Remember, Braking distance increases at a quadratic rate with speed. At typical road speeds, it roughly doubles for every 13 miles per hour increase. When you've mastered the front brake, you've mastered 90% of braking control. This alone will make you better and safer than most riders on the road. The remaining 10% involves fine-tuning techniques, which are beyond the scope of this video. For that, I strongly encourage you to check out our braking video series, as usual, where I cover everything in detail. Now that you've learned how to accelerate and to brake, the next logical step is learning how to turn. Unlike in a car, steering a motorcycle isn't as simple as turning the handlebars in the direction you want to go. Let's break it down. Imagine we are riding straight and at some point turn the wheel to the right. Naturally, the front wheel starts to move to the right, but since the motorcycle is a single-track vehicle without wheels on the left side to support it, the bike itself will begin to tip left. If we keep turning the handlebars to the right, the bike will eventually fall to the left side. But instead of falling, we want to turn left. So, as the bike leans, we release the pressure from the handlebars and the front wheel automatically turns itself left. Voila! We made a left turn. In essence, to turn the bike, we momentarily lose balance on purpose by steering the front wheel into the opposite direction. For instance, if we want to turn left, we first steer slightly right. This causes the bike to tip left, and as we release the pressure on the handlebars, the front wheel naturally turns to the left, guiding the bike into the turn. This phenomenon is called countersteering, and it is how every motorcycle turns. Many riders pick up countersteering subconsciously, but understanding it and practicing deliberately can dramatically improve your control. You'll make quicker transitions from left to right, lean more confidently and avoid situations like this. Notice how this rider keeps trying to turn the handlebars into the turn, causing the bike to stand up and crash. Don't be that rider. To build countersteering into your muscle memory, let's practice a simple U-turn exercise. We'll start with a left-hand turn, but be sure to practice both directions. Ride straight in first gear, with the throttle slightly open at about 15 miles per hour. Keep your head up, look far ahead and relax your arms. Maintain a steady throttle throughout the exercise, don't brake or use the clutch. To initiate a left-hand turn, gently push on the left handlebar. This push will cause the bike to lean left. Once the bike starts to tip, release the pressure on the left handlebar. Don't try to manually turn it left, this will straighten your bike instead. The front wheel will naturally turn left on its own, guiding the bike through the turn. As the bike leans and follows the turn, continue until you've completed the U-turn. To bring the bike upright, push the right handlebar. For a right-hand turn, simply reverse the process. Push the right handlebar to lean right and the left handlebar to bring the bike upright. The harder and faster you push the handlebars, the quicker the bike will lean. This U-turn exercise is an excellent way to practice countersteering. Since countersteering is a cornerstone of safe and confident riding, spend plenty of time honing this skill. It's one technique you absolutely don't want to skip. Great! We've covered a lot in this video. From basic controls to slow speed techniques, smooth throttle control, gear shifting, fast braking and even countersteering. As you can see, riding a motorcycle isn't just about knowing which levers do what. It's about developing the right skills and habits to ride safely and confidently in any situation. Of course, I can't pack everything about motorcycle riding into this video. There is just too much to explore. If you'd like more in-depth guides, check out the video description below. I've included links to additional videos where we dive deeper into balancing, friction zone mastery, advanced braking and bunch of other topics. Plus, you'll find information about my courses, which offer a structured step-by-step approach to help you avoid looking like a complete noob and instead be safe on the road and ride with genuine confidence. If you found this video helpful, hit that like button, share it with your friend who may be thinking about getting into riding, and don't forget to subscribe for more tips and riding advice. As usual, thank you for watching, ride safely and have a wonderful day! Bye!